Hey there, people of the interwebs. It's me, Brandon Noel. Um, this week on Saturday Morning Cartooning, we're doing Freakazoid. Um, runs around in underwear. Freakazoid. Freak of you. Freak of me. Um, I kind of already have my layout out here. I'll work with, you know, marker and then go in with watercolor. I always really enjoyed Freakazoid. The sense of humor, um, the level of satire. I think while being a superhero satire, it was still more sophisticated than like Darkwing Duck, right? Like it's kind of on that same level, but since Spielberg it was behind it, was one of the Spielberg cartoons. It has a level and a quality that not many cartoons had. You know, there's a moment in one of the episodes where the Lobe is, he's this brain, you know, shaped villain, and he's, going to a fancy restaurant, and they do like probably an 8 to 10 minute Hello Dolly reference. I, as a kid, had never seen Hello Dolly. Fast forward something like 20 some odd years, I am finally watching it with my wife, and the scene comes up, and I just start laughing uncontrollably because I'm like, oh my god, that's what Freakazoid was referencing? It was Hello Dolly. Um, After the movie, I had to show my wife the Freakazoid parody. She didn't think it was as funny as I thought, but when you're introduced to the Freakazoid version first, it leaves an impression. Um, I know that the creative team has really tried to get a revival going. I haven't seen any new videos from them post the pandemic, but they were pretty active, with the Zooms and stuff. Which was good because people needed cheering up. People always need cheering up. Um, for a Saturday morning cartoon, especially a Saturday morning action cartoon, it drew very heavily from like Jerry Lewis. I don't know what it is about 90s cartoons and a factuation or love of Jerry Lewis, but you know, I was introduced to Jerry Lewis through the Animaniacs. I know originally, like, Bruce Timm was attached, and this was gonna be, I think, a little bit more serious. They wanted to do something closer to, oh, I can't even think of the DC character. Green boa, yellow skin. Anyway, they even did an episode with that character that kind of like, oh, this is what we would have done if we could have had that chance with Freakazoid. So I have 3 villains up top, and then Freakazoid down below. I have the Lobe, Candlejack, and he was the first villain from the first episode. I don't remember his name. Yeah, Freakazoid and Earthworm Jim I compare a lot because they had similar sense of humors. But I think Freakazoid was just funnier. And since there was all these other like major superheroes at the time, it was okay that he wasn't as, like the Tick is a better superhero than Freakazoid. The Tick got stuff done. The Tick saved the moon. Freakazoid, not so much, you know? I wanted to do a couple of ripples in the costume, something they would have never done on the show, because, that's too much of a hassle. Freakazoid did have one of the best intro theme songs of all time. You know, runs around in underwear, Freakazoid, Freakazoid. Like, I didn't even have to look that up. That's just, like, in my head, rent free. You know. Yeah, it was Saturday morning cartoon. It was such a unique time in history because, you know, you didn't have streamers, you didn't have, there weren't 24-hour cartoon channels yet. Well, by this time Nickelodeon did exist, but Nickelodeon, you know, at least for my money, didn't have good cartoons. I know there's a lot of people my age love Rocko's Modern Life. I hated Rocko's Modern Life. I thought it was ugly. I couldn't look at it. Even as a kid, I was like, this is just ugh. And then Doug, I couldn't stand because he was so, like, you know, he was older than me when the show first came out, and I just thought, man up. Like, he was afraid to talk to the girl. He was afraid to, you know, like, he kept seeing himself in, you know, don't get me wrong, I have a Quellman figure up there. You know, but it was just one of the, like, I couldn't stand Doug. You know, it was just, I'd rather watch, you know, anything other than Doug. It had one good episode, that was its Christmas episode, where they, you know, they thought the dog was malicious and bit the one girl out of maliciousness, and then it was revealed he was just trying to keep her from the thin ice. But the whole, like, hey, you might have to put your dog down, that was a really good episode. But for the most part, I couldn't stand Doug. And then when Disney bought Doug and they did Doug's first movie and didn't do anything else with him, and the new series just kind of came and went, like, Disney owns so much that they're just never going to do anything with. You know, that's the problem, is I think Disney owns too much. Because it's, you know, Nickelodeon might need a Doug, but Disney doesn't. Throw my grays in here real quick. So I'm throwing some gray wash. And then I'm going to paint over this. The Candle Jack episode of Freakazoid is a really good episode, but it felt like it was one that got reran a lot. So they did the same thing with one of the first Joker episodes in Batman the Animated Series, where it's like one of the first Joker episodes was the laughing gas episode with the barge and the robot clown. I used to know the episode names, but I've just gotten old. So yeah, keep forgetting what I was going to say, but the whole Saturday morning cartoon thing. Bush killed it. It was a long time tradition because it was the one like television block where they just gave it up and said, all right, give it to the kids. And for a long time you couldn't market directly to children, so there was no value in running kids programs on non-educational purposes. But then Reagan lifted some of those regulations, and that's what brought in the Transformers and G.I. Joes and the whole, toy hero thing of the 80s that, I'm at a really cool age bracket where I got all the 80s cartoons and I got all the 90s cartoons. So like, He-Man, uh, you know, Hulk Hogan, in his Hogan. It wasn't Hogan's Heroes. Maybe it was. But some of my earliest memories watching Gem and the Holograms. I'm pulling up reference real quick because I don't remember what some of these characters, the colors were. Cave Guy. That's the, big guy over there. But his hair was black. That's what I couldn't remember. Cave Guy. That's really greenish blue. I want to clean that up. Yeah, my Saturday morning, I would get up at 5 a.m. Since it was that early, nobody else was up in the house. So I'd go to the living room and I would I made myself a big bowl of cereal and I would watch the Flintstones and the Jetsons for about an hour. And then right after that, so it'd go from 5 to 6 a.m., the Marvel Power Hour would start, which was the Iron Man and then the Fantastic Four show. I was a much bigger fan of that Fantastic Four cartoon. Um, so much so that probably a decade ago they put the whole thing out on DVD. I have the box set because the Fantastic Four are just amazing. Here comes the four. Yeah. Then I would go back to bed And because even as a kid, I had priorities, but sleep was, you know, that had to happen. So I go back to bed, and I think I'd wake up around 10 for, you know, the tick. Maybe it was a little bit earlier than 10, but right, from 6 a.m. to like 9 a.m., get a couple more hours. And the tick, and I think it was followed by Power Rangers. And then we'd get into, X-Men, Spider-Man. And at that time, Batman the Animated Series was still on Fox. The WB hadn't happened just yet. So yeah, maybe Animaniacs was on in there, Pinky and the Brain. Freakazoid being the last of the Spielberg cartoons. There's always been the rumor or innuendo that Freakazoid was just a ripoff of Mike Allred's, I think it was Mike Allred, his book Madman. Very similar, but I would say Madman was at its core still a superhero story, whereas Freakazoid clearly by the end was a parody. Like Freakazoid didn't care about continuity or it was just gag after gag after gag. and a lot of the some of the, like at the end of the show, he points directly at his chest and a big. I wanted to do something similar, but I changed the direction of the point. I made it more like a Rob Van Dam, thumb point versus the point to the chest. I thought just to be a little different. And there you have it. There's my Freakazoid. So, yeah, there you have it. There's my Freakazoid. Uh, hope you like these videos. Please like, subscribe. In the comments, who was your favorite Freakazoid villain? Right? Like I have, my three right here: the Lube, uh, Candlejack, and Cave Guy. So in the comments, who's your favorite Freakazoid villains? If you watched Freakazoid. All right. Hope you enjoyed this, and you're probably my age, watching a nostalgia show about cartoons. So, take care of your knees. Hey, I hope you enjoy these videos. Please like, subscribe, and I hope you remember Freakazoid from when your childhood or your Saturday morning viewing. In the comments, if you were a viewer of Freakazoid, throw down your favorite villain, whether it was Candlejack or the Lobe, or the weird bull guy. I remember him from an episode. So yeah, thank you. Please like, subscribe. In the comments, who is your favorite Freakazoid villain?